Oh, that one has to be closed. Yeah, sorry. Roll call, Ms. Lawrence.
Here.
Ms. Krishnowski? Here. Mr. Lescavage? Here. Ms. McDermott? Here. Mr. Perry? Here. Mr. Sabatino?
Here.
Ms. Smith? Here. Ms. Stevenson?
Here.
Mr. Thornton?
Here.
Mr. Wilovich?
Here.
Mr. Lombardo?
Here.
All present.
All right, thank you. We have 3 proclamations today. There is an additional one that's not on the agenda. It is for the 911 Telecommunicators Week, so I'll read that as well. First up, we have for children and youth. Whereas Luzerne County and Children and Youth Services investigated 6,030 cases of child abuse and neglect this past year, and whereas Luzerne County Children and Youth Services provided information and referral services to 3,536 families, connecting families with community agencies that are partners with the agency in the prevention and treatment of child abuse and neglect, and whereas children are our most valuable resources and will shape the future of our community, state, and country, and whereas child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lifelong consequences for victims of abuse, whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the meaningful connections and partnerships created between child welfare, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, businesses, and law enforcement agencies, and whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that benefit children and their families, and whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and continue to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, nurturing environment, and whereas April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. This month and throughout the year, Luzerne County Children and Youth Services encourages all individuals and organizations to play a role in making Luzerne County a better place for children and families. By ensuring parents have the knowledge, skills, and resources they need to care for their children, we can help promote children's well-being and prevent child maltreatment with families and communities. Now, therefore, we, the Luzerne County Council, do hereby express our gratitude to the employees of Luzerne County Children and Youth Services and their community partners for their dedication and commitment to protecting children and strengthening families in their work to prevent child abuse and neglect, and do hereby proclaim the month of April in the year of 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Luzerne County, and urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of child abuse prevention. And I believe Children and Youth is here to accept the proclamation, and Ms. Gownley would like to say a few words.
Thank you. I would just first like to thank Council for your support for our team over at Children and Youth. It's very important to us to know that we have your support behind us. Our team has been making great strides in preventing child abuse, and I just wanted to share with you a couple activities that we'll be doing during this month. So this week, last week, our staff planted pinwheels outside of our agency that represent child abuse prevention, along with signs. We did it in the pouring rain. Nothing stops us. So if you pass our building, you will see the numerous pinwheels. We also attended other pinwheel planting ceremonies throughout the county in partnership with the Children's Advocacy Center. And our biggest activity this month that we want everyone to be aware of, we're having a trunk or treat on April 27th from 1 to 3 at the agency, and we'll be giving out treats to the children, but also all of our community providers that provide children's services to families will be present, and they will be doing parent education with the parents and guardians or family members that attend on issues such as leaving children in a car in the hot summer, parenting. So we just wanted to mention that. And finally, I just wanted to say that it does take a village to prevent child abuse, and I'm very grateful the community that we're in, that you all help. So thank you for this.
Thank you very much. You can come up here and take the proclamation. All right, next up we have 911 Telecommunicators Week. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time and require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas the safety of our first responders is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Luzerne County Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our first responders by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety, and whereas each telecommunicator has exhibited compassion and understanding and professionalism during their performance of their job. And now, therefore, we, the Luzerne County Council, do hereby proclaim the week of April 14th, 2024 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Luzerne County in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our county and citizens safe. Would you like to come up and accept it? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. And as somebody who's a full-time first responder myself, I certainly appreciate everything they do every day. They have to hear my voice, unfortunately, when I'm at work, so they deal with a lot, and we appreciate it very much. All right, finally, we have a proclamation for recently retired Assistant District Attorney Jarrett Ferrantino. We, the members of Luzerne County Council, wish Mr. Jarrett Ferrantino congratulations on his retirement from the Luzerne County District Attorney's Office on April 5th, 2024. It is with great honor and admiration that we recognize and commend Jarrett Ferrantino for his unwavering dedication and outstanding contributions as a Luzerne County Assistant District Attorney for the past 20 years. And whereas throughout his tenure, Jarrett Ferrantino has exemplified the true spirit of justice, tirelessly fighting against crime, and working diligently to make our streets safer for all residents of Luzerne County. And whereas Jarrett Ferrantino's commitment to upholding the law and seeking justice has been instrumental in successfully prosecuting numerous criminal cases, thereby ensuring the safety and well-being of our community. And whereas one notable achievement in Jarrett Ferrantino's career was his instrumental role in the prosecution and conviction of Hugo Selinski, Luzerne County's most notorious criminal, whose heinous acts had terrorized our community. And whereas Jarrett Ferrantino's exceptional legal skills, unwavering determination, and tireless efforts played a pivotal role in bringing Hugo Selinski to justice, providing closure to the victims and their families, and restoring a sense of security to the entire Luzerne County community. Whereas Jarrett Ferrantino's professionalism, integrity, and commitment to justice have earned him the respect and admiration of his colleagues, law enforcement agencies, and the citizens of Luzerne County. Now, therefore, we, the Luzerne County Council, do hereby proclaim and commend Jarrett Ferrantino for his 20 years of exemplary service as Luzerne County Assistant District Attorney, his outstanding dedication to fighting crime and making our streets safer. We wish him good health and happiness as he moves on to a new chapter in his life. Thank you very much, Jarrett. All right. Are there any additions or deletions from the voting session agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
All right. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The agenda is adopted. We'll now have public comment on voting session agenda items only. Oh, I apologize. Mr. Skeen, would you like to announce the executive session, please?
Yes, this evening we had an executive session to discuss a employee matter and 3 litigation matters, one of which is being voted on this evening.
Thank you, Attorney Skeen. All right. Public comment? Agenda items only. Anybody in the audience for agenda items only? Is there anybody on the Zoom for public comment for agenda items only? No. All right, hearing none, we will move on. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 26, 2024 voting session.
So moved.
Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Minutes are approved. Number 1, motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the county manager to execute a renewal contract with Thomson Reuters for Westlaw Legal Research Software.
So moved.
Motion, second by Ms. McDermott. Or Mr. Liscavige, I'm sorry. Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski? Yes. Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith? Yes. Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Number 2, motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the county manager to execute a contract with Reassurance Solutions for the purchase of technology for the monitoring of inmate vital signs. Motion, second. Mr. Sabatino. Roll call?
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
And Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 3, motion to adopt resolution authorizing the county manager to execute a contract with Velara for air purification units.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all right. Roll call?
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 4, motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the county manager to execute a renewal contract with Susquehanna Software Incorporated for CPR Web Mental Health and Developmental Services, Mental Health Billing Software, Environment, Susquehanna Software Contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Ms. Krishnowski. Roll call?
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, thank you. Number 5, motion to adopt the resolution approving an extension of lease with King's College for parking at River Street between West Jackson and North Streets, Wilkes-Barre for fiscal year 2024 and 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Roll call?
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 6, motion to adopt the resolution confirming the appointment of Division Head of Administrative Services. And as is indicated in the resolution, it is Mr. James Rose at a salary of $98,000.
Second.
Motion, second. Roll call?
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Just in the interest of everybody involved, I do know Mr. Rose for many years, just wanted to disclose that, and I vote yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Before I vote, in the interest of transparency, I also know Mr. Rose, I served with West Pittston Council, and I'd be happy to say if he gets this position, I'm more than happy to reunite our friendship working together, and it's resounding yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, congratulations, Mr. Rose.
Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Number 7, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for Harvey's Lake Borough.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second, Mr. Sabatino. Roll call?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 8, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for Visit Luzerne County.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Thornton, Mr. Wilovich. Roll call?
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 9, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for the Commission on Economic Opportunity.
So moved.
Question?
Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
Yeah, just, I had people, public question me on this, and maybe County Manager Crockamo could expand on it. People were asking why, I think the amounts are changing, or income levels are changing. Was that so more people could qualify?
Yes, and we have Jennifer Warbuck from CEO here to answer specific questions. Jennifer?
Is that, okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
Yeah, so the request is twofold, to expand the income eligibility from 151% to the 300%, which it's already at, and that will allow additional households to qualify for this particular program.
Any other questions? All right, we have a first and a second. Roll call, Ms. Lawrence?
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 10, this is a separate ARPA modification for the same organization. Motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for the Commission on Economic Opportunity.
Second.
And on a question?
Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
I believe the reasons for this revision are the same as the previous motion. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Yep.
So the modification for this particular whole home repair program is to extend the date out for completion of the program to December 31st, 2024.
Thank you very much. All right, there's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, number 11, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for the North Lake Improvement Association.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige? Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry? Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 12, motion to adopt the resolution approving a modification to an American Rescue Plan Act funds awarded project for the Lower South Valley Council of Governments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Liscavige?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Number 13, motion to adopt the resolution approving the settlement of pending litigation in the matter of Shelby Wauchula versus Luzerne County and Walter L. Griffith Jr.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Who was the second? I'm sorry. Okay. All right, Mr. Sabatino then. Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
Yeah, just a quick comment. This particular case, I'm not in favor of allowing it as it's written. Basically, it deals with the First Amendment right of free speech, and I think to allow this to go forward like this is a violation of free speech for this individual, in this case, Mr. Griffith. And I observe every day on the television screens of various news networks where our state and federal employees and elected officials continue to remark on their opposition and other people in employment of Harrisburg and Washington, and they have some pretty biting and cutting remarks against these people, but we don't have lawsuits suing each other all over the place because free speech is allowed. And in this particular case, the speech that was being discussed was not over county email. It was on his own private platform or whatever he does. So I just wanted to state that. I think if we continue down this road, all of these council members that are sitting here tonight, we are in danger because the same thing could happen to us. It'll limit or handcuff us as far as being able to be critical of people, whether in our employment or not, in this county, and at times when it's necessary that we be critical, we may feel muzzled a little bit in fear that this case might set a precedent and people will be coming after us. So I just wanted to state that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could too, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Mr. Haas.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I was maligned in the last election too by some very hyper-left interest groups from out of state as well, Mr. And I absolutely understand what you're talking about. It is ridiculous, and I'm not going to that extent. So thank you for what you said.
Any other comments from council members? All right, there's a motion in the second. Roll call.
Mr. Liscavige?
No.
Ms. McDermott? Yes. Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Sabatino?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
No.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
No.
Mr. Wilovich?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
No.
Ms. Krishnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
7 yes, 4 no, it passes.
All right, thank you.
Just for the record, there's no admission of liability on behalf of any of the defendants.
Thank you. And that's also true of the next
Correct.
one as well.
Correct.
Okay. All right, number 14, motion to adopt the resolution approving the settlement of pending litigation in the matter of Joshua Miller versus Luzerne County et al. Is there a motion?
Motion.
All right. There's a motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Perry. Roll call.
Ms. McDermott? Yes. Mr. Perry? No. Mr. Sabatino?
No.
Ms. Smith?
Abstain.
Ms. Stevenson?
No.
Mr. Thornton?
No.
Mr. Wilovich?
No.
Mr. Haas?
No.
Ms. Krishnowski?
No.
Mr. Liscavige?
No.
Mr. Lombardo?
No. Ms. McDermott would like to change her answer to.
Do we have
her
to have a
vote, so
motion
no.
for that?
We haven't concluded voting yet, technically.
No, she didn't
So,
announce.
yeah, she didn't announce it, so. Okay.
Do you want to state that up?
And how about the abstention?
Ms. Smith abstained.
Yeah.
Oh, Ms. Smith, you just want to state the reason for your abstention?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. As everyone knows, and I made very clear in my run for this seat, I worked for the county, and I worked for the county during this time, and believe that I have information that requires me to abstain due to the employment I had with the county.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Skeen, do we need a motion to reconsider?
To reconsider because of the change?
No.
No, she made her change before we
Yeah, it was
moved
before the
on.
announcement. Yep. Go ahead.
We have 10 yes and 1 abstention. Passes.
All right, thank you. Number 15, county manager introduction. Oh, it fails.
10 no's.
Okay. Number 15, county manager introduction of ordinance amending the 2024 fiscal year budget for Luzerne County for the DA gun violence.
This is an amendment that we're asking for because the district attorney's office has received a notification that they were awarded an extension on the gun violence reduction task force continuation grant. No, don't ask me to say that quickly 5 times. We'll be receiving, the DA's office will be receiving $124,825.26. It will be in multiple line items, and that requires a change.
All right, thank you very much. There's no vote needed on that, right? Because it's
No, I'm just
introduced.
introducing
Right,
it.
okay. All right, number 16, the opioid commission citizen member announcement. There is a notice that we have that'll be published at the end of the agenda that is obviously stating that council is seeking the citizen member of the opioid committee, opioid commission, sorry. And, will need a resume and a cover letter. Please send it to Miss Lawrence. You can find her email on the county website or in the agenda here. And the applications are going to be due April 26th, 2024 by 4:30 p.m. And I believe that we will have an ABC meeting to do those interviews the Tuesday after that, which would be the 30th. So if anybody has any questions about that, you can certainly send us an email, speak to us after the meeting. But we're happy to accept these applications finally and get this commission moving. So thank you very much. If there's nothing further, I'll have public comment on non-agenda items. Mr. Arnone?
Yeah, John Arnone, Hanover Township. I know I've been talking a lot and it's getting confusing, but when I first entered this courthouse, I was singing there at the steps, all right? And then I came back from Philadelphia in '92, all right? I left my MAC card in the machine. I went down to get it. I got pulled over. Simple thing. There was words. He said a word, I said a word. He said, you can't say that. Well, I asked him, how about the word something? Well, I said, kiss mine, and I walked away. All right? I got jumped by 2 officers, choked out till I defecated 1 block away from my house. Okay?
Sir, I apologize. I know we've had this conversation,
Oh, I
Mr.
know.
Arnone, but
Well, I'm just explaining what's going on in my life right now because of this
This doesn't
county.
have anything to do with county business as it stands right now, sir. All right, I know I've
You
let you
want
talk
to
for
get
the
into
last
this
2
county? I'm
meetings.
just explaining why I am where I am.
Sir, I think we've been pretty
I'm s-
respectful to you. I've had a conversation with
All
you
right.
personally on the phone.
And?
If this doesn't have to do with county business as it stands, then
The police officers' actions in this county are not, this judge, okay? He was the DA. I beat him on a 3-day trial, 7-hour jury, all right? And then I get retaliated against, all right? I get jumped by 10 sheriffs in the courthouse. He puts me on WBRE, dangerous, most wanted. After I beat him, he becomes my judge. Now, the DA that I went to the bathroom in, that they made me defecate, now he's my judge. I defecated in his office. 10 sheriffs knocked down the door, all right? Twice I got choked out in this county. You're not allowed to use chokeholds. Twice, all right? It's dangerous, all right? Now I'm dealing with this stuff, all right? I was looking at 35 years. My family has been abused so bad. I'll tell you this, John. My wife quit taking her thyroid medicine when I came out of jail. It's 18 months and she's dying in front of my eye. And I know who did it. I know who tried to ruin me. And you know him. You know him, and you should recluse yourself when I'm talking because of who this man is. And you know who he is. All right? My wife is dying. I'm watching her die because of how these people treated me. I gave her some papers. All right? And if that don't have county business, we'll talk about them trying to electrocute people and other stuff. All right? That happened. We'll talk about people stealing donation money. Okay? That happened in this county. We'll talk about a police officer who wants to meet me 2 o'clock in the morning while I'm a so-called terrorist so he could blow my brains out. All right? I was a hard-working man. I've worked very hard for my name.
All right, thank you, Mr.
And
Arnone.
they stole it.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Ms. Edwards?
Hi, Desiree Edwards, Sawyersville. Yes. First of all, I was here a couple weeks ago. Is that too loud? I was here a couple weeks ago, and you're okay. I was here a couple weeks ago, and I asked who oversees the election board, and I waited as looks went around on the council, and then it came back to me, and I was told no one oversees the election board. Well, since then, I have talked to a few higher ups, and they said, in fact, that Luzerne County Council is the one that oversees the election board. And I was told no one. Second of all, I'd like to know I would like to know when Department of Homeland Security and ICE will be taking over the building at the address 1989 Wyoming Avenue 44, PA, near the airport in the floodplain. Are the taxpayers paying for this, and what is the agenda for this action?
Is that all your comments, Ms. Edwards?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just as we told you the last time that you came up and spoke about the election board, we oversee the appointment of the election board members. We don't control what they do. The only time that we would do anything is if they committed some act that we deem to be, something unbecoming of an election board member, and we can certainly remove them. It's a rare situation when we do that, but that's our only level of control over the election board and our only way we oversee them. As far as the second question, I have no idea what the answer to that is for you. We can certainly get it if you'd like. I don't know if Manager Crocomo has any comments on that.
I've received no notification, but I'll look into it.
Thank you.
And ma'am, we definitely do not oversee the election board. The council does not. It's not in the charter. We're not authorized. It's outside our purview, just so you know. We do appoint people to that board, but that's it.
But after you appoint the people, you're in charge of those.
No, we are not. Absolutely not. Nope.
Yeah.
It's not enumerated anywhere in the charter.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Anybody else for public comment? Mr. Rabo, go ahead.
But what council can do, they can remove board members, like you said, Mr. Chairman.
That's correct.
So we do have that oversight.
Right.
Good evening, council, manager, members of the public. My name is Mark Rabo from Hazleton. Commenting about for the housing. I sent some members of council and the manager about the 4.4% increase in the housing construction in Pennsylvania that was reported recently. And with the amount of LRTAs that's going to be talked about, one in particular today for Exeter and the one that was talked about previously for Hazleton, I think it would be, as I said in the previous council meeting, I think it would be conducive to the council and to the manager to ratchet up talks with regards to proposed maybe incentives for housing. I'm not talking about affordable housing, I'm talking about housing in general, because if you have market-based housing, which is a vastly different animal than affordable housing, which is Section 8, as people would understand. I think that would be, allowable to entice people that have the ability to pay for mortgages and also be law-abiding citizens to move into Luzerne County instead of individuals who may be illegal immigrants or criminal felons emanating from our neighboring states of New York and New Jersey. And which is, probably why our caseload, as the district attorney reported in his annual report, is ratcheted up. Furthermore, as far as the Government Study Commission, I think it would be conducive upon council and manager and the press to explain further that what the ramifications and consequences are if the public votes against the government study question on the ballot, because then they won't be able to vote for it for 5 years. I think the Office of Law can help with that explanation to the public, as well as for any members that don't understand the process. So, I know that the election board should also assist in that, and I know they put out an explanation that's for the voters on election time, but I think that needs to be explained, because the consequences are, because there are legal landmines because of the conflicts, there might be litigation that could render sections of the charter unenforceable, and therefore that might cause a problem. And I wanted to congratulate Mr. Rose on his appointment as Administrative Service Division Head. I mean, I've worked with him quite extensively over the years. I have had a few disagreements with them, but they've been, respectful. So I look forward to working with them. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rabo. Anybody else for public comment? Go ahead, Mr. Grantede.
Good evening. Joe Grantede, Plains. I have a couple of questions. The logic session that we had where we were able to view the machines before they're, I believe it would be more effective if it was a random testing, a random demonstration instead of a prearranged, one machine already selected. That doesn't tell you anything. After that, you were there. After that was done, the workers were all working all the other ones. To make it more effective and more informational to the people who are voting, it should be on a random basis. You walk in there, you pick 3 machines, and you test them. And you'll get a more convincing outcome for the people who are voting. I'd like you to consider that for future elections. The other thing is, I've been here recently and you're talking about trying to get money for bridges. I believe that the federal government got $1.9 trillion for infrastructure, which should encompass bridges. Why are we scraping to get our bridges, I don't know, pennies or whatever, when there's $1.9 trillion? My truck is destroyed from potholes. I don't know what to say about what's going on here. You probably don't want to hear what I have to say. But there's money out there, and we shouldn't be squeezed to find a few dollars to get these things done. And with the minimums increased for CEO, is that for LIHEAP, or is that for all the programs?
Go ahead.
So the LIHEAP guideline went up to 150%
Right.
poverty. So this starts at 151 and then goes up to 300, which is as high as the eligibility allows.
That's just for LIHEAP, though, what you're discussing tonight.
Right, so it's just for the heating and utility part of the program we're operating, yes.
Okay, and utility. Is there a list of people waiting for that? I mean, does that include people who might not have qualified that are already on the list, which the list should be opened up for a new group of people?
Sure.
If Jennifer would be kind enough to answer your questions, she's here. You can talk to her at the break, or she's very generous with her time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Grantine. Anybody else for public comment? There's a motion. All in favor? Aye. All right. Meeting is adjourned at 6:42. We'll restart at 6:52.
Recording stopped.
All right, council members, we're going to start back up again here in a second.
Please take your seats.
All right, it's 6:53 p.m.
Recording in progress.
I'd like to call this work session to order. We already had the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Roll call, please, Ms. Lawrence.
Mr. Hawes?
Here.
Ms. Krishnowski? Here. Mr. Lescavage? Here. Ms. McDermott? Here. Mr. Perry? Here. Mr. Sabatino?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Stevenson? Here. Mr. Thornton?
Here.
Mr. Wilovich?
Here.
Mr. Lombardo?
Here.
All present.
All right, thank you. Any additions or deletions from the work session agenda? Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Agenda is adopted. Okay. Number 1, receive and discuss division reports for March 2024.
As always, council, if you have any questions about the report, you can ask me now or after the meeting via email, phone, and I'll make myself available. There's things that I want to add. I want to call out Tara Fox of the Mental Health and Developmental Services Director. She was selected to be part of Pennsylvania's 988 Crisis System Response Training and Technical Assistance Policy Academy. Pennsylvania has an 8-member core group, and each member represents specific groups and perspective, and she represented county mental health administrators. It's a very big honor that she was chosen, and I want to applaud her for that and the work that she does. I am I'm very happy to announce that today at the MPO meeting, we were granted, I made a presentation and the MPO approved that the West Nanticoke Bridge be taken off the long-range transportation plan, which had no money allocated, and we were put on the TIP with the understanding that PennDOT is going to commit $5 million in state funding to the project in 2029 and another $5 million in 2031 for structure work. So we were able to obtain $10 million more for the West Nanticoke Bridge. So I'm very happy to report that. My efforts are not finished. I'm going to attempt to get even more money for the bridge. And tomorrow I will be sending council an email updating you as to the status of the bridge process. So it wasn't $10 million. I was at the meeting for maybe an hour and a half. That was pretty good. Yeah, it was worth it. So. I'm joking a little bit there. I want to call out our planning and zoning department who worked with me. We were like a group in high school, you know, when you have to do a group project, you know, that's how it was. But it's a team effort with planning and zoning and operations and budget and finance, and we did it. So $10 million today to add to the funds.
Excellent. All right, any questions for the manager? All right, number 2, discussion regarding the resolution providing tax exempt for new construction in deteriorated areas under the Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance Act, and this is for Exeter.
Good evening, everyone. Kevin Walsh from Morgan Quinn on behalf of Wyoming Avenue Development Group LLC. We have a proposed board application
we've received previous approvals, that's better, for temporary tax abatement from the school district and the municipality. And we're asking the county to do the same. With that, I would turn it over to Attorney Ray Hasse to provide some additional details.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present this request for tax abatement under LARDA. Since I'm asking for a tax abatement, I feel like I should give you a good explanation for it. So I got involved with this project back in December, and it kind of came to fruition in a way for me because having grown up in the area, I grew up in West Pittston, as some of you do, and some good people in the audience here as well. Spent the last 30 years living in Exeter, and for the last 35 years I've served as solicitor for Exeter Borough in one capacity or another, 12 years at Wyoming Area School District. And this site, believe it or not, has been the subject of various discussions at meetings at least for the last 15 years. And it comes up for different capacities. For Exeter Borough, it comes up as a blighted site. It comes up on police reports. It's a nuisance lot. The police have numerous logs of violent crimes taking place there, of drug use, drug paraphernalia, weapons. There's been a homeless camp, 40 people that was broken up right before Wyoming Area Regional Police came together. And they actually found fugitives, like people who were wanted on bond warrants. So this site has been a nuisance property for Exeter Borough in that respect for a long time. In the context of the school district over the last couple of years, it's come up as a safety concern for students who were busing to school. One of the school bus stops is there in front of the site on Wyoming Avenue. And there's a concern because that expansive police activity that I just told you about, the kids have to walk from Birchwood Estates in the back, their homes back there, across that site in order to get to the bus stop. So it's, parents would come to the meetings and complain about that. So the point of this is when I decided to take this project on, and in fact, at a council meeting in September in Exeter, it came up again, and we were just talking like, okay, well, what's the status of it? Is it under contract? So I ended up calling the realtor just to say, like, what's going on with the site? Is it under contract? And he said, well, actually, no, the contract just expired. So I made the decision on my part, whether it's good, bad, or proved to be fruitful or not, we'll find out, but to make an offer and put it under contract. And the reason I did it, I developed other properties over the years, and at sites and locations that are much better marketability-wise than Wyoming Avenue in Exeter. But the reason I did it was because of the fact that I live in Exeter and because I see what a community nuisance it is. And rather than hearing complaints about it, I thought maybe I'll step up and try to do something with it. But I looked at it not so much as a private developer type project. I look at it more as a community, a cooperation. And so what type of way can the community work together? Can I work with local governments to try to make this something that is rehabilitated as opposed to just a nuisance for the community? So with LARDA, the title obviously stands for Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance. Clearly, we're talking local revitalization need with this site. As far as I'm concerned, the site screams for this type of cooperation between the private sector and government. So the tax assistance comes in because I'm not looking to put money in my pocket. It's because I want to try to draw potential users to the site, potential tenants or potential owners. I likely won't get the tax benefit of it. If somebody buys it, they'll get the tax benefit, or buys a portion of it. The plan would be to subdivide it and try to sell it off to potential good users. But they'll get the benefit of it. If they're renters or tenants, they'll get the benefit of it as well, because usually those types of leases result in the tenants paying all the costs. So I've seen LARDA requests come up over the years, and in my mind, I wonder, like, oh yeah, we're looking for a tax break because we have this big company coming in to take over this warehouse or whatever, and we need a tax break. Well, I'm thinking, well, if you already have a customer, if you have the place, commercially filled, what do you need a tax break for? To me, the purpose of LERTA is to create an incentive. It's for the local governments to team up with private developers to create an incentive for somebody to take over a site that is a nuisance site like this, to try to rehabilitate it. And so that's why I'm asking for it tonight. I'm very sensitive to the budgets that governments deal with all the time, having served, like I said, in numerous capacities over the years with local governments. In my career as a developer, I have only one other time asked for a LERTA abatement, and I did not come to the county specifically because I didn't want to ask for more than what I thought was needed. So my history, I think you would find, is a responsible use of taxpayer funds, and I make requests that I only think are necessary. The request that I'm asking for tonight, there's a PowerPoint, which you can take a look at there, but on the second page of that, or the third page, first page explains what LERTA is, and the most important part on that page is just to express my belief that it should be a collaboration between, private and government. The tax abatement that I'm showing and requesting, which I believe is necessary to get somebody interested in that site, is years 1, 2, and 3, 90%, year 4, 80%, year 5, 80%, and then each year tapering off to 10 years, 60, 50, 40, 30. Now, keep in mind that the abatement under the Act only applies to improvements. So whatever taxes that the county is getting now on the land will not change. In fact, it may increase, because if I do subdivide the lots into one or more, there's always a tendency for the assessor's office to increase the land value. So you may end up getting more taxes, even even with the LERTA abatement. So that's what I'm asking for, and I believe it's necessary for several reasons. And if you can go to the next slide. I put down 5 reasons that I thought why LERTA would be a great fit for this site. And the first one I explained is a blighted property. The history of it has demonstrated that it's a nuisance for the community, and it's a safety threat to the community. So to me, that's the number one reason why something should be done. The second reason, it's not an attractive site to developers. If you're a developer and you want to buy a piece of land to develop, you're not going to look at Wyoming Avenue in Exeter. You're going to look up at Dixon City, that corridor up there. You're going to look up at Highland Boulevard or Mundy Street. Those sites sell themselves. You don't need incentives to develop that. So I can give you a litany of reasons why. Some of them are spelled out here, but it's not the best site. There's development problems. In fact, over the last 15 years, the site's been under contract to be sold and developed, and because of the development problems that it's faced, the contracts have fallen through. So nothing's happened. It's my belief that without this incentive, it won't get developed. It will not, it'll still be the same problem that it is for some years to come. The third reason I listed was the unusually high cost of development. The site itself poses some unique challenges because it's where it's located on Wyoming Avenue, like the storm sewer, for example, runs along the front. Well, any development of that site is going to necessitate stormwater basins be put in. And because the storm sewer is in the front, the basins are going to literally be on the front of the property, which that's a detraction if you're a store that you want to be in the front as close to the road as possible. So in order to try to overcome some of that, we have to build underground retention basins, which in one site alone could cost as high as $500,000. And I use that number because I saw the Sheets down the street did the same thing because they have a similar issue. And that was up at $500,000 just for stormwater on one site. Now we have 16 acres, So I expect that the cost of just dealing with stormwater is going to be a lot higher. But there's other issues too. I mean, that site was used in the coal mining industry in the 50s, and there's 2 mine shafts that are on it that have to be mitigated. And after 1972, the federal government set up a mobile home park to help with the displaced people who lost their homes in the flood. So they set up homes, and it's been a trailer park ever since. But because it was built so quickly, the infrastructure there is old, broken, patched together. There's underground tanks. Everything's got to be ripped out and redone. So there's a lot of obstacles to developing it. And the 2 other reasons I listed, which I mentioned earlier, there's not going to be a loss of any tax revenue to the county while we get this developed, and the creation of jobs. The last page, excuse me, the last shows what we would like to do. And again, I don't have any commitments from anybody. If I did, I wouldn't need the tax assistance. But I'm in discussions with various people to try to get them here, and they all agree that some type of incentive is necessary for them to overcome the market obstacles to come to this site. The back part of the lot shows a potential grocery store, and then the front shows a convenience store, gas station, and 2 other retail sites. So that's one look at what we're looking to do. It could change its shape a little bit over time, but so that's the reason I'm here. That's the reason I'm asking for collaboration with you, your assistance in helping our community overcome what's been a thorn in its side for such a long time. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Attorney Hassing. I actually do have one question. This plot of land is not actively used by the trailer park, correct? There's no trailers on it anymore.
No. Right.
And were they removed because a previous person who had purchased the land intended to develop it into a store, I believe?
So the owner, who still owns it, by the way, same owner,
Okay.
had signed a deal with Walmart. If you remember, that was a big thing back in 2010 or 11. And as a result of that, they moved all the trailers out because they thought it was a done deal. I mean, Walmart. But even Walmart had some problems getting the approvals they needed, so they ended up pulling out, and it's been vacant ever since.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Attorney Hassey, I think it's important to point out for edification of everybody here that this LERTA request, in my opinion, is far different than the usual LERTAs that we get before council. Most of the LERTAs we get are for large tracts of land right next to Route 80 or 81.
Right.
This particular site is off the beaten path. It's nowhere near 80 or 81. It's nowhere near 309. It's nowhere near the turnpike. And that has presented some huge challenges over the decades because that property is highly unmarketable. And it's not attractive to many retailers that otherwise would like to locate in the county here. The other thing I do want to emphasize is that many times the word LERTA is thrown around loosely, and the public thinks it's a tax break for the developer and that it's a tax cut for the owner of the property. And it's important to note that that is absolutely not the case. And it says right here, under that state legislature act that was passed in 1977, granting a LERTA does not impact or reduce taxes currently being paid on that unimproved land. So whatever small pittance of tax we're getting on that junk land now, we will continue to get that for years to come, even if we grant your LERTA to you. That we're not giving a tax cut or a tax break on that existing tax that we're receiving.
Right.
That's an important note because a lot of the public doesn't realize that. So I just wanted to state that. The other thing I do want to state is I'm very familiar with that tract of land. I went to school there in grade school, right there. And, you know, that was probably 100 years ago. But the property has changed drastically over the decades. And literally, now there's wooded areas there on that 16 acres, which provides cover for these homeless camps that keep popping up.
Right.
And they're right next to the schoolyard where the little children play. And like you said, Actually, people have to walk through that tract of land, certain people, to get to the bus stops. And I understand the Wyoming Area Regional Police are very much in favor of this LERTA, and I think they even wrote a letter to us about that, because they keep moving the homeless people out of there, but they keep coming back. And, you know, with the homeless population, as sad as it is, a lot of times there's other issues or problems that come with the encampment, whether it be illicit drugs or alcoholism or whatever, sometimes mental health issues. And we certainly don't want that next to the children in the playground. So I just wanted to point those few things out. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. And also, as a first responder, my ambulance company that I work for services Exeter Borough, and my fire department actually goes there sometimes on calls too. So I've been on that tract of land for those types of issues, fires being set, drug problems and whatnot. So I certainly can respect somebody wanting to develop it and making it into something better, because it's really truly is a blight on the land in that area. Mr. Liscavige.
I just like to say, I think every town deserves an opportunity for progress. And Exeter doesn't have a lot of opportunity for progress. And I think that would look terrific living in West Pittston, coming down the avenue, to see that developed, cleaned up. I think it's really, that area is like one step below a junkyard, you know. It's pretty tough to look at times. It's a lot better, but it was pretty rough for the last few years. And as a resident right up the road, it'd be terrific to see sidewalks put in, better walkways for kids to go to and from school that live within that area. I just think all around it'd be a great project. There's ones that you think that would really be a great fit, and I think this would be a great fit for the area. Thank you.
It's funny, Exeter, as great of a town as I think it is, it's really a drive-by community. It's not a destination spot, right? We don't leave our houses in the morning unless you live there to drive to Exeter. And there's a lot of communities like that. And I'm sure we can all say we're from somewhere, a small town, but this type of, like I said it over again, this type of government-private cooperation could help communities, these drive-by communities, with problem sites like this. And that's why I'm here. So I didn't expect to make a lot of money on this project when I took it on, but I don't plan to lose money. I hope to, but it's going to take a lot of money to get this to the point where it's marketable. So any assistance that the county could provide, be very grateful for.
Mr. Haas.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Mr. Hassey, Mr. Walsh. Thanks for coming to council. I agree with my colleague over Mr. Thornton. This is a little different than what normally comes before council. It's generally just a profit motive and a development kind of incentive. However, that being said, I'm categorically really not a fan of these kinds of programs. I appreciate even also your discussion and scaling back somewhat the LERTA scale, but it's really like, what does the market bear? And, you know, when we look at market studies of things like that, what kind of scale would they be interested in? It would be an 80-20, a 70-30, and so on and so on. My big concern, and Mr. Thornton brought this up last time too, we represent the entire county, and these kind of things, like every single town in our area needs a LERTA. They have some kind of piece of land, some have multiple pieces of land that really need to be developed. You can go in a mile in any direction in Wilkes-Barre City, they've got giant brownfields that need development. Okay? Right. My concern is we're putting our thumb on the scale, and we're helping out one town more than another, and ultimately, even if we gave everybody a LERTA, who ultimately loses are the taxpayers of Luzerne County, because that's revenue that the county needs to, obviously, you can understand, to fulfill services, just like 911 when Councilman Lombardo gets dispatched. So we even have to pay for that. I don't know if you've considered other tax incentive or tax forgiveness schemes or tax deferment programs like a TIF, like a tax incremental financing, that the county could still recoup the taxes on it, but it will still incentivize a developer to come in there because they're not paying upfront costs. Mm-hmm. So then the cost is deferred, but it is paid back 100% to the county taxpayers because it's spurring development, but it's not just saying goodbye to the tax revenue realized from that development. So I don't know if you and your firm could consider something like that as an option.
Sure.
Clearly, I see that the school district, and we all know the school districts are the ones that command the highest rate of taxation, so that I'm sure is an incentive. And municipalities probably a little bit less than what we have here in Luzerne County. But we see a lot of these very similar schematas pop up, and everybody's watching. So the developer is always watching what council does one week and the next. And again, no disrespect to you, because I love Exeter. I love going to Sabatini's. I get there quite often. I'm on the west side myself. However, I also pass by 44 on the way over. I take the back road through Sawyersville, go through other towns that also could probably have some development and really benefit from that. So I think we need to keep the long-term thing in mind. We got to look at long-term goals about what's fair to everybody here at the county level. And if a town wants to give some kind of incentive like Exeter Borough has done, that's wonderful. And I think that is local government at its finest, because that's what we do here in America. It's local government. But we have to think a little more globally, like Brian Thorne said last week.
I mean, that's a fair statement. However, I would just state that the state legislature created this so that, and it wasn't just for local government, it was for counties as well, and school districts and local governments. It created a tool to help, whether it's 40 Fort, Exeter, Freeland, wherever, for sites like mine to get off the blighted list and get onto the tax rolls. So the county's not giving up a penny. They may be losing the right to collect taxes on the improvements for a couple of years, but in the long haul, it's money that's coming, it's revenue that they probably wouldn't otherwise see. So, like, I respect your position and the fact that you are very careful with our taxpayer money. I disagree that this is not going to benefit the county and the county budget at some point in the next couple of years. So that's...
That's fair enough. And even with the current schemata that you put forth here, even if you could scale it back, I know you want to spur development. You want, obviously, Alerta, it's incremental, and it eases back into the tax burden. So perhaps shortening the term, maybe instead of 10 years, 5 years, that you can just consider that schematic you had here and get us to zero abatement by year 6. Because again, the goal is to spur the development, move the property, and get it developed. And so I think that might be a little more attractive to the council if you were to take a look at that, just like I told the last developer here. But again, what Brian said is exactly right. Yeah. This is admittedly different than the last one we had here a couple weeks ago. Yeah. But make no mistake, they're watching too.
Well,
anybody else? Oh, Mr. Thornton, go ahead.
One other point I forgot to mention in my earlier comments. Recently, I discovered that to the north, the city of Scranton grants all LERTAs. Routinely, they grant LERTAs. So they put the message out there for everyone. You want to develop here around Scranton, we'll give you the LERTA. So it's very competitive. These retailers are looking for this tax assistance treatment under that state act that was passed in 1977. And we could choose not to grant them, but just keep in mind as you choose that it's a very competitive field, and they could opt to go north, Lackawanna County, Scranton. They could go east to Monroe County, where there are super highways and more convenient for a lot of these retailers, or they go south, either Carbon County or Schuylkill County. So we just have to keep that in mind that, we're not an island 500 miles away from everybody. It's a very competitive area for these LERTAs. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Anybody else? Thank you very much, Attorney Hassey.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, everybody. And by the way, I'd just like to say that the gentleman sitting in the middle here representing Exeter, Mr. Burke and Monsignor Sempa, community, all about it. So I vote for them.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have a discussion regarding the resolution authorizing the county manager to execute a lease agreement between Luzerne County and Chickasha Borough for the premises located at 35 West Union Street, Chickasha Borough, Pennsylvania.
This is to enter into a lease for a magistrate's office. The previous lease, unfortunately, expired in December of it will expire on December 31st of 2023, so we're trying to get ahead of these and get new leases in place, and this is the lease for Magisterial District Court 110301 in Shikshinny. And we've been in that premises for several years. So we're not changing the premises, we're just extending the lease.
Any questions? Thank you, Manager Crocomo. Number 4, discussion regarding the remediation of the judges' chambers.
This courthouse is a gem. It's an architectural gem, probably, if not the most beautiful courthouse in the Commonwealth. It's definitely in the top 3. It's an old building, and things happen. And unfortunately, in Judge Gelb's chambers, there was mold. We had to find a new home for her chambers, which we did in the courthouse, but it needs to be remediated. We also believe that Judge Sklarowski's chambers needs to be remediated as well. Mold gets worse with age, so we need to deal with this immediately. There is no safety issue for the public. It's located just in the chambers, and that's what we're asking for, is for the monies to remediate the mold.
Any questions? Go ahead, Ms. Stevenson.
So I'm like, we just found out about this, I'm assuming.
We just found out about it.
All right, so we don't know how much this is gonna cost us to redo these rooms.
We have an approximate amount of maybe $150,000, $160,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
Question along those lines. Because it's mold and it presents a safety issue, would the ARP, the little bit of leftover money, ARP funds qualify to pay for that?
We can run it through to our consultant. We also have the interest monies that doesn't have the attachments to it. So there are funding sources to pay for it, but it's something that council needs to vote on.
All right, any other questions? All right, number 5, discussion regarding the Housing Coalition. Councilwoman McDermott asked that this be put on the agenda.
Just a little background. We have been here for since I came back in May of 2023, and I can't think of a meeting where we didn't talk about housing. And it certainly has a lot to do with a lot of the development that's coming in to the area, and it has a lot to do with the emails and text messages I get from Mr. Rabo. It's a very serious concern, and I know the Real Estate Committee and Councilwoman McDermott has been looking into various ways that we can actually provide a service to the entire county, and part of it is creating a coalition. So I'm going to ask Councilwoman McDermott to speak to that.
With the microphone I can. Today I'm pleased to announce the efforts to create a dedicated housing coalition aimed at addressing the pressing need for affordable housing in our community. Recognizing the significance of this issue, the county is committed to actively aiding in the creation and coordination of this coalition to tackle the challenges faced by our residents. The Housing Coalition will bring together a diverse group of stakeholders, including city and municipal leaders, representatives of nonprofit organizations, and developers. By leveraging the knowledge, expertise, and resources of these individuals and organizations, we aim to develop innovative solutions that will make a significant impact on the availability of affordable housing in our community. As was stated by Ms. Crocomo, I have met with Michelle Sparich, Kathy Hilscher, the Director of Community Development, and Mayor Lombardo, to set a framework of bringing key members of our community together. The membership of the coalition will include key figures such as mayors, city council members, and other city and municipal leaders who are dedicated to the well-being of our residents. Additionally, representatives from nonprofit organizations that specialize in affordable housing and the homeless shelters will contribute their value, insights, and experiences. Furthermore, local housing developers and construction companies will be actively involved, contributing their expertise in creating sustainable and affordable housing solutions. The primary goal of the Housing Coalition will be to identify and implement strategies that increase the availability of affordable housing options, improve housing affordability, and address the specific needs our community will need by collaborating with various stakeholders. The coalition will work diligently to develop action plans that align with these goals, ensuring that every step taken brings us closer to meeting the housing needs for our residents. In addition to fostering collaboration among coalition members, we will actively seek partnerships with other organizations and stakeholders in the private and public sectors. These partnerships will enable us to leverage additional resources and expertise, ultimately maximizing our impact and accelerating progress towards our shared vision of the community where affordable housing is accessible to all. The Housing Coalition will also prioritize advocacy and public awareness efforts. We will advocate for policies and funding that support affordable housing initiatives, aiming to create an enabling environment for sustainable solutions. Furthermore, we will engage with community, raising awareness about the importance of the affordable housing and building support for our coalition efforts. To ensure transparency and accountability, the coalition will establish mechanisms for monitoring and evaluation. Regular progress reviews will be conducted, allowing us to measure the impact of our initiatives and make necessary adjustments to our strategies. We will also provide regular updates to coalition members, stakeholders, and the wider community, sharing success stories and challenges faced along the way. So we are excited about this potential of the Housing Coalition and the positive impact that it will bring into our community. Together, we can make a difference.
And we will have a framework for council, and any other council member who might be interested, let me know. We have a meeting set for the 18th. It's going to be a lift, but I think we need to do it, just as Mr. Rabo said, we have to start now. Keep kicking the can down the road. It's not going to work.
The meeting's on April 18th?
Yes.
Correct.
We have
I'll
a-
circulate the time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Terry Ohms from the Institute will be providing statistics about the housing in the area.
Okay. Is that definitely set up yet, the time and everything? Because there is the Hazleton Public Transit ribbon cutting is also that day, just so you're all aware.
This is 2:30. 1:30 to 2:30.
Okay, I don't think that conflicts.
The Hazleton Transit is 11.
11.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
making sure. Okay, any questions, any comments? Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Chair, I actually have a question about number 4. I tried to motion to you and you moved on.
Oh, I apologize.
That's all right, but would you mind if we went back
Go
in
ahead,
just a
yeah,
second?
that's absolutely fine.
I noticed in the cost, at the very end, it says, I was just wondering if we had more than any other, if there were any other bids for this particular work. I understand we absolutely have to remediate mold. It's not a question. I want everybody to be safe. However, I did notice at the end of the first paragraph, it says that it's $725 per shift. Did we get any other bids?
No, it's an emergency.
Okay.
Under our purchasing policy, we don't have to.
Have to. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else for number 5? All right, we'll move on to number 6, discussion regarding St. Cecilia's parking lot project in Exeter. And we have Joe Burke and Monsignor Sempa here to give a presentation.
Good evening, folks. Thank you for having us. I feel like I'd like to make a couple of preliminary remarks. My name's Joe Burke, West Pittston. I am a lawyer by day, but here I'm just serving as the pastoral council president for the linked parishes of Corpus Christi and St. Barbara's. And Monsignor, who does all the talking on the weekends, asked me to do the talking because he says, generally, I talk too much. Which is true, but I have to say 3 things real quickly. First, congratulations on your service. I probably won't be before this body again. I don't expect to anyway, and I know the responsibility you assume by serving like this, and I know it can often be a thankless task, but you've all stepped up, and you're to be congratulated for that. And that's just from me as a fellow citizen. The second is to say that I was very disturbed about two things. If Brian Thornton was in school 100 years ago, he was behind me in school. He was a 9-year-old on the Little League when I was graduating, so that's disturbing. And that Exeter's not a destination location, Mr. Hassey, is concerning to me, but thank God my father-in-law's in heaven because I told him it was some 40 years ago and got my Philadelphia wife to move here. Very seriously, we're coming to you as the potential beneficiaries of what would be manna from heaven. There's this great football field in Exeter on Wyoming Avenue. It's for kids. It's not for the older teenagers, but for the youngsters, and it's been there a goodly while. And it's always relied on this parking lot. Throughout my life, it's relied on this parking lot, which is attached to the St. Cecilia's Church, which was, as the diocese would describe it, was relegated as part of a consolidation that's occurred throughout the diocese over the last several years. So St. Cecilia's was closed, and the prospect was that that land would be sold. And Exeter Borough had the wisdom to say, well, hold on. There's Wyoming Area Catholic School, which is teaching many of our grade school children here, and it's a nice asset to have in the local community, and it's a relatively new school facility. How are those kids going to be kept safe? How are they going to get to and from school? So the next thing you know, the Wyoming Area Catholic School, the council said, well, as part of any subdivision, you will create a new parking lot at that facility. You'll create a separate access way and entrance way to and from the school facility from anything that occurs with regard to this now closed church facility. And that was in its contemplation stage. So that was before, I would recall, and it'd be in Monsignor's letter, but that St. Cecilia's was just closed within the last couple of years. But this was contemplated going back 5 years ago and into 2020 when I think the planning stage occurred. It is gospel truth that the estimates for this parking facility were in the range of $240,000 to $253,000. It's also gospel truth that the first time that a bid was ever secured as to the prospect of this was last summer, and it was in excess of $450,000. There were multiple bids. The diocese has a firm policy that it's prevailing wage with regard to all projects, and that limits the number of bidders. They did seem, to the eye of a commercial lawyer, I had the benefit of seeing these project perspectives, responsible bids from reputable bidders, but the cost was prohibitive because the prospective proceeds, as it relates to the interests of Wyoming Area Catholic School and the Corpus Christi St. Barbara's community, those monies, they're already allocated, if they ever exist, to the responsibility to maintain the cemetery properties and the remaining properties in the parish community, and Wyoming Area Catholic, which is literally counting on any proceed dollars there to enhance their school activities. But left there was this football field and the parking lot issue. We have not found any solution. We have certainly made anyone who would listen aware that we haven't found a solution that would make the prospect of selling the St. Cecilia's facility, of completing the transaction, and of what I think is fortifying Wyoming Area Catholic for the long haul available. The great news was that Exeter Borough was recognizing the same thing, and that's what prompted the request that ultimately came to the county, is the way I understand it. This was not something that Monsignor commissioned or was prompted by the church in any way. It was truly a convergence of the interests of the Wyoming Area Catholic School, the interests of a parish community that happens to be down there and challenged economically but otherwise thriving, and the interests of the kids that are in my heart at this stage of my life to want to see making sure that they have a parking area there for the long term so that they can continue to use that field the way it's intended. And it is landlocked, which you can certainly independently investigate. I haven't done a separate investigation. And my last ramble is that I drove there yesterday because I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about, and I had my 9-year-old grandson, who I hope will play on that field with me, and we're there, and I said, you know, your grandpa, he he was on this field when he was a kid, and he said, no, Grandpa, this field wasn't around when you were a kid. That's way too long ago. Thank you very much. We're happy to answer any questions you have, although we may have limited information, but everything that's in Monsignor's letter is gospel and has been verified.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a comment or
Go ahead.
question.
Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
For those many years that I served on West Pittston Borough Council with Mr. Luzerne, we hold an annual Memorial Day Parade. Starts in West Pittston, proceeds all the way down Wyoming Ave, through the town of West Pittston, through the borough of Exeter, and pretty far through Exeter. It was quite a walk for me. I mean, but my efforts to secure a car largely went failure, But anyway, that parking lot serves as the staging point at the end of the parade, where everyone in the parade and all the veterans end up there in that parking lot. And I know we put out chairs all over the place for people to sit, and we always have a beautiful presentation from the military there, retired officers and whatnot. So it also serves for that purpose for the Memorial Day Parade every year. I would like to again ask that we look into the ARPA funds for something like this. I think the difference that you mentioned, the school is still willing to pay their $240,000 or so that they earmarked, but if it's double that, there's probably another $240 that is needed, and because that parking lot is used for so many children, whether it be school children or the mini football program and the Little League. I know the Little League is there too for Exeter for the little kids. I think under the rules of ARPA, when we went through the training classes at the beginning of that, one of the authorized uses was for recreational purposes because the federal government deemed in the wake of COVID, the mental health of people needed to be addressed and improved. And they authorized, I know a lot of the ARPA money applications that came in, some of them were for recreational purposes. So I would just ask our administration, not tonight, but at some point, just look into that if these funds that we have in the ARP account would qualify for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We can
Thank you,
do
Mr.
that.
Thornton.
We can do that.
And as was discussed with the judge's chambers remediation, I think there's also the possibility of using the interest funds, which don't have as many preclusions if we decide to do that. Any other questions? Go ahead, Mr. Luzerne.
I'm sure early on, had you known that this price was going to escalate to the point it did, they probably would have filed, I would think, for ARPA money for a helping hand. But after the fact, so here we are, we can correct this and make this right for the kids and the school children, and I think it would be a great cause.
You're kind to say, I respectfully, I would say, I see so many instances where Exeter Borough is trying to be on the ball and being progressive in making moves. I had no awareness of this, speaking as a rep for the church, but at the same time, I am a partisan to the community and to the county as well. I would love to see that happen if it's available, and I thank you very much for your consideration on behalf of the entire community.
Thank you, Attorney Burke. All right. Public comment? Mr. Ray, Miss Edwards is.
Okay. Attorney Hasse, Mr. Thornton, and Mr. Haas. I live in Swearsville. I'm getting older, and I have a lot of girlfriends on that side of the river. We do not like going to Wilkes-Barre. That would be a nice thing on our side of the river. We have nothing. Third Ave, what we had there with Price, ShopRite, and everything's medical now in our area. Everything is medical. And that would be nice in our area. And we don't like going to Wilkes-Barre where it's crowded and it's a nightmare to go to Walmart and stuff like that. So I just wanted to say that. I thought that that would be nice for us on our side of the river. And I would appreciate it if it was put there, and it would make it look nicer there. And I think that's it. I was going to say something else, but no, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Mr. Rabo?
First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Hasse and the representatives for the LERTA for Exeter. From after I heard the presentation, I would agree with council that this is a different type of request than normally that comes in front of the county. I would like to add one thing, though. I think that in situations like what Mr. Attorney Hasse brought up, with this particular parcel, is something that we do at the County Redevelopment Authority with regards to stuff like this. So I would hope that he would reach out to the authority, Margie Thomas, and seek also programs that we have, like Mr. Hawes said, the TIF, and there's also other state programs. And as Mr. Rose knows, I do like to bring that up to him when he was down there in Harrisburg with regards to those programs through DCED. Also, Mr. Chairman, as far as with the mold remediation and for the church, I think this would be also, those items would be conducive to reaching out to the state with regards to the state portion of the ARPA. Because if the state, because they're sitting on billions of dollars, which I don't know why, I have no idea why they're sitting on billions of dollars when communities are still reeling and they still need the money. So I think that would also be, beneficial. I came in today not because I'm a walking billboard, because of the fact that for the bridge, and I'm glad the manager brought it up as far as the bridge goes, cranes, as the Baltimore situation proved, the bridge, they had to get two huge barge cranes in order to pull the remainder of the debris of the bridge from Baltimore Harbor, from the ship that crashed into it. It's supposedly going to cost about $85 million, I think, or $85 million I know was given as an emergency for that bridge in the Baltimore Harbor, and that's a shipping port, obviously. But that's why the cost of the bridge in terms of total replacement is going to be more so, because if you're going to get a total replacement, you need cranes, and under OSHA, you need to have like 2 lattice boom cranes, which is what these are. Well, I don't know, this is actually a mobile crane, but actually, the lattice boom cranes I'm talking about for the bridges. So you need an assembly, disassembly crew for that. I know I'm winding up. So once those costs are allocated, that's actually your main cost right there for that bridge to be replaced, just so council's aware.
All right, thank you, Mr.
very
Rabo.
much.
Anybody else for public comment? Go ahead, Mr. Grantide.
Joe Grantide from Plains. I grew up in Exeter, and I was listening to the plans for that area for the first time, and I think something needs to go there, but I don't think they need another gas station in that area, or a convenience store, or a grocery store. But I mean, a Top Golf would be nice over there, or a go-kart track, or something. You want to make Exeter a destination. Wyoming was a destination where Rich's Golf was there, right? If you want to put something in there, I mean, stay on top of the ground. You don't have to go underneath the ground where the mines are. Probably be a lot cheaper, and it would work for the mental health of a lot of people around here. And I'd also like to bring up the 40 Fort pool. They want to keep that closed this year, and I know that brought a lot of joy to a lot of kids. And I think it's a shame if there's any money somewhere in this county, they should use it to keep that pool open and let those kids have a good summer.
Thank you, Mr. Grantede. Anybody else for public comment? Motion to adjourn? Motion, second. All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.